Picture this, a library, vast and labyrinthine, bathed in the sepia glow of a dying lantern. Its shelves stretch into shadows, groaning under the weight of unread volumes, each spine etched with titles like The Arithmetic of Regret or Atlas of Unanswered Letters. At the center, a solitary figure, the librarian, paces the aisles, their footsteps echoing like a metronome. They've done this ritual 1,000 times, straightening crooked books, extinguishing candles, locking doors. But tonight, something stirs. A draft slips through a cracked window, scattering loose pages like autumn leaves. And there, in the periphery, a shadow flickers. Not a thief nor a ghost, but an uninvited guest, a thought. This is no ordinary thought. It does not knock, it does not leave. It perches on the edge of your mind's desk, ink black and quivering, whispering questions that daylight muffles. Why are we here? What lingers after us? Does the universe keep receipts? You try to shelve it under tomorrow's problems, but the thought multiplies, spawning footnotes, appendices, entire volumes of what-ifs. The librarian in you grows frantic, slamming drawers, snapping shutters, but the harder you fight, the brighter the shadow burns. This, dear listener, is the first tremor of existential insomnia, a state where consciousness rebels against the lull of oblivion and the soul refuses to sleep. Philosophers have long wandered these nocturnal corridors. Heidegger called it the anxiety of being, the raw vertigo of realizing you're here, untethered, a cosmic accident gripping a steering wheel with no destination. But insomnia sharpens this truth. In daylight, we're actors reciting scripts, jobs, chores, small talk. At night, the stage empties, the masks dissolve. You're left staring into the mirror of your own fragility, wondering if your entire life is just a clever distraction from the void. Consider the ancient myth of Hypnos and Thanatos, twin gods of sleep and death. They were brothers, inseparable, their realms divided by the thinnest veil. To lie awake is to hover in that liminal space, towing the line between them. Is this why insomnia feels like a rehearsal for mortality? A reminder that one day, the library will close for good, its books dissolving into dust? Yet here's the paradox. Within this unease lies a perverse kind of clarity. By day, we're tourists skimming life's surface. By night, we dive into its depths. The 17th century mystic Anna Maria van Schuurman wrote her greatest treatises during sleepless vigils, calling them Conversations with Eternity. Nietzsche, too, claimed his Zarathustra emerged not from sunlit walks, but from the diamond-edged dark, where ideas cut deeper. Insomnia, then, is not merely a failure of biology, it's an invitation, a summons to confront what we spend our days avoiding. But beware, the invitation is written in riddles. The shadow thoughts that haunt you are shapeshifters. One moment, they're scholars dissecting your purpose. The next, they're jesters, mocking your insignificance. You grasp for answers, but they slip through your fingers like smoke. This is the library's curse. The more you seek, the less you find. Yet the seeking itself becomes a kind of faith, a prayer to the God of unanswered questions. So tonight, as you lie awake, consider this. What if the sleepless mind is not broken, but alchemized, a forge where base anxieties are hammered into gold? The librarian in you wants order, labels, systems, a map out of the maze. But what if you stopped fighting the shadow? What if you lit a candle, pulled up a chair, and asked, "What do you need me to see?" The clock ticks, the lantern sputters, somewhere a moth taps at the window, mistaking starlight for a flame. Imagine time as an hourglass. By day, it sits prim on a desk, sand slipping in orderly grains, tick, 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 each moment accounted for, each second a prisoner of schedules. But night cracks the glass. Insomnia spills the sand into chaos, scattering it into a desert where minutes stretch into dunes and hours collapse like mirages. You lie there unmoored as the mind's pendulum swings between too fast and too slow. A heartbeat thrums like a war drum. The clock's hands freeze mid-arc. This is temporal dissonance, time's illusion unraveling, revealing its true face. A shapeshifter, a trickster, a thief. The ancients knew this duality well. The Greeks worshipped Kronos, god of linear time, who devoured his children, a metaphor for life's inevitable end. Yet they also revered Kairos, the god of the fleeting moment, depicted with a lock of hair to grasp as he sped past. Insomnia merges these two. It forces us to choke on Kronos' feast, while begging Kairos to linger. But what if neither god holds the answer? What if the sleepless night is a third realm, a place where time dissolves entirely, leaving only the raw pulse of existence? Consider the Arctic winter, where the sun never rises. Explorers trapped in endless night report, losing all sense of days, their minds unraveling like yarn. Insomnia is a psychic polar night. Without dawn's anchor, the self fragments. You become unstitched from the calendar, adrift in a sea without shores. The 20th century philosopher Henri Bergson called this la durée, time as lived experience, a river that slows, eddies, and roars based on the weight of our attention. In the dark, la durée floods its banks. A single memory, your first heartbreak, a parent's laughter, can swell to fill the void, while the present shrinks to a pinprick. Here lies the paradox. The more you chase time's rhythm, the more it eludes you. You count breaths, tally sheep, bargain with the universe. Let me sleep and I'll be better tomorrow. But the universe, like a Zen master, responds with silence. Buddhist texts warn against clinging to the raft of time, urging surrender to the river's flow. Yet how does one surrender when the river is made of fire, when each second burns, with the question, what is this all for? Nietzsche, that patron saint of midnight thinkers, wrote that eternal recurrence, the idea that life repeats infinitely, was the ultimate test of amor fati, the love of fate. But insomnia twists this. It asks, if this night lasted forever, could you bear it? Could you find meaning in the endless tick, the unslept hours, the echo of your own breath? The answer hides in a story from the Sahara, where nomads navigate, not by stars, but by the feel of wind on their skin. They trust the unseen. Insomnia demands similar faith, not in time structure, but in the raw, unmeasured now. Yet, the night is not merciless. It offers glimpses of eternity. Astronomers note that stars burn brightest in the deepest dark. Likewise, in the marrow of sleeplessness, clarity flickers. The poet Rumi scribbled verses by oil lamp, claiming the night liquefied his soul. Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway wove the fabric of a lifetime into a single day, proving that time expands when we stop measuring it. The insomniac's curse is also their gift, to touch the infinite if only they release their grip on the hourglass. So tonight, when the clock mocks you with its false ticks, remember, you are not broken. You are a sailor in uncharted waters, a cartographer redrawing maps. Close your eyes, not to sleep but to see. Let the sand scatter, let the river rage. Dawn will come, but for now, be the desert. There is a mirror that hangs in the back room of an antique shop, tucked between cobwebs and forgotten clocks. By day, it is unremarkable, a tarnished oval framed in peeling gilt, but come midnight, its surface stirs. The reflection you recognize, as you dissolves, replaced by a chiaroscuro of selves, the child you buried, the lover you betrayed, the ghost you might become. This is insomnia's mirror. It does not show your face, it shows your shadow, the silhouette of all you refuse to name. Carl Jung called this hidden self the shadow, the cellar of the psyche, where we lock away desires, shames, and primal instincts. Daylight offers a tidy compromise. We paste on smiles, rehearse civilities, and pretend the cellar doesn't reek of rot. But insomnia picks the lock. In the void between midnight and dawn, the shadow emerges. It is not evil, but honest, a feral twin who speaks in snarls and poetry. Kierkegaard warned that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom, the terror of realizing we are not fixed portraits, but blank canvases. The shadow holds the brush. Consider the myth of Narcissus, often reduced to a tale of vanity. But what if his fatal flaw was not self-love, but self-avoidance? He fell not for his reflection, but for the illusion of a finished self, smooth, unchanging, sterile. The pool's depths, like the insomniac's mirror, threatened to show him fractured, mutable, alive. Modernity, too, drowns in this avoidance. We curate digital avatars, swallow positivity mantras, and mute the shadow's growl with endless scrolls. Yet the mirror persists. It asks, what happens when the filters fail? Insomnia strips the algorithms. In the dark, you meet the raw, unbuffered self. Memories resurface as jagged vignettes. The cruel word you hurled at a stranger, the dream abandoned for practicality, the grief folded into origami and stuffed in a drawer. Psychologist James Hillman argued that soul-making requires tending these fragments, not to fix them, but to let them breathe. The shadow is not a flaw to erase, but a dialect to learn. Its language? Paradox. It hisses you are nothing while howling you are infinite. Herein lies the night's cruel grace. The mirror cracks, yes, but through its fractures pour unexpected mercies. A Japanese kintsugai bowl, men's broken pottery with gold, honoring scars. As art, likewise, the insomniac's psyche, split by shadow and light, becomes a mosaic of meaning. The 13th century Sufi poet Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you. Insomnia's mirror is that wound and that light." Yet society recoils from this truth. We medicate the shadow, drown it in caffeine, or numb it with screens. Modern life is a gallery of well-lit selfies, allergic to the chiaroscuro of existence. But the poet Sylvia Plath, in her Sleepless vigils, called the night a great black beast whose breath forged her verses. The shadow, when faced, becomes a collaborator. It whispers the secrets daylight obscures. You are mortal. You are unfinished. You are alive. So tonight, when the mirror glows in the dark, do not look away. Lean in. Study the stranger who wears your face. Trace the cracks where childhood laughter leaks through. Let the shadow unspool its questions. Who would you be if no one watched? What bridges would you burn if failure didn't frighten you? This is not a reckoning. It is an invitation to kneel before the cellar door, to meet the feral twin, to say, "Teach me." The heartbeat quickens, the glass trembles. Somewhere a clock strikes an hour that does not exist. There is a tale told in the crypts of medieval monasteries of an alchemist who labored for 30 years in a windowless chamber, feeding his furnace with lead, mercury, and crushed midnight. His peers mocked him. "Fool," they spat, "gold cannot be wrung from shadows." But on the eve of his death, the alchemist emerged, clutching a vial of liquid starlight. When asked its name, he whispered, "Aurum obscurum," the gold born of darkness. Insomnia is this alchemist's chamber, the night a crucible. Your racing thoughts, the base metals, and the philosopher's stone, awareness. To lie awake is to tend the furnace of the soul, where fears are not conquered, but transmuted. The 16th century mystic Paracelsus wrote that true alchemy was not of minerals, but of the spirit. What burns in the fire becomes the fire. So it is with the sleepless mind. In the smolder of 3 a.m., you are both the flame and the fuel. Consider the alchemical process, negrito, the blackening, a descent into rot, where matter decomposes. This is the first hour of insomnia, when regrets fester and the body feels foreign, a puppet of flesh. Albedo, the whitening, ashes stirred to revelation. Here, in the second hour, you glimpse patterns, how your anger mirrors your father's, how your loneliness hums in the same key as the cosmos. Citrinitas, the yellowing, dawn's first smear on the horizon, a gilding of the void. You do not find answers. You find questions that glint like raw ore. But why must gold be forged in darkness? The Tao Te Ching offers a clue. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Modernity flees from shadows, labeling them disorder. We medicate, distract, optimize. Yet ancient traditions, from the Eleusinian mysteries to Buddhist Vipassana, venerated the dark as womb, not tomb. The Stoic Seneca, in his letters, advised Lucilius to welcome nights of wakefulness as drills for mortality. Even Christ's resurrection demanded a tomb. Darkness is not the enemy, it is the alembic where the self is distilled. A Zen koan pierces the paradox. What is the sound of one hand clapping? The answer is not a riddle, but an indictment, a demand to stop seeking answers and start listening to the silence between ticks of the clock. The insomniac's mind is that single hand, clapping in the void. The act itself becomes the meaning. Let me tell you of Brother Anselm, a Carthusian monk who, in 1413, prayed for divine union but found only a desert of the soul. For years he fought his restless mind, scourging himself with psalms. Then, one winter night, he surrendered. He let the thoughts come. Memories of a sister who drowned, doubts about God, the tang of blood on his lip from bitten-back curses. And there, in the eye of the storm, he wrote, "The darkness is not empty, it is thick with God." His insomnia became a rosary, each hour a bead gripped until it glowed. Modern neuroscience echoes this. When sleep-deprived, the brain's defaults mode network, the self circuit, fires wildly, linking disparate memories into uncanny poetry. The insomniac is an accidental surrealist, their mind a Dali clock draped over the subconscious. But must we pathologize this? What if the labyrinth of sleeplessness is the psyche's way of composting the day's debris into something fertile? So tonight, when the furnace roars, do not curse it. Feed it your dread, your nostalgia, your unsent letters. Watch as the flames lick them into a language older than words. You are not broken. You are in opus, mid-work. The alchemist's gold was never the metal, but the metamorphosis. The chant fades, the vial of starlight trembles. Somewhere, a bell tolls for a dawn you no longer fear. Picture the horizon as a seamstress, stitching night to day with threads of gold. The sky bleeds from indigo to saffron, and the world holds its breath, a suspended moment between the no longer and the not yet. This is the hour of surrender. Insomnia, that stern yet faithful companion, retreats like a shadow at noon, leaving behind not answers, but a question etched in light. Can you carry the night's revelations into the day's noise? In Japan, there is a term for this fragile threshold, kogenyo, the moment when night becomes morning. It is considered the purest time for reflection, when the mind hovers between dream and action. Here, the philosophy of wabi-sabi whispers its lesson. Beauty lies in impermanence, in the cracks and patinas of existence. The insomniac's restless night is a kintsugi bowl, its fractures gilded with the gold of raw awareness. What if, instead of fleeing the brokenness, we revered it? What if the sleepless hours were not a flaw, but the brush strokes of a life lived in full color? Albert Camus, chronicler of the absurd, wrote of Sisyphus condemned to eternally push his boulder. Yet Camus imagines him happy, finding meaning not in the summit, but in the struggle itself. So too with the insomniac. The boulder is the mind's relentless churn, the summit an illusion of resolution. But in the dawn's light, a revelation. The rock is not your enemy, it is your dance partner. The night has taught you the steps. Embrace the rhythm, not the destination. Consider the tale of Ryokan, a 19th century Zen monk who spent years meditating in a hut. One winter, a thief broke in, finding nothing to steal. Ryokan returned, caught the thief, and gave him his own robe. "Do not let the night starve you," he said. That night, Ryokan sat naked, watching the moon, and wrote, "The thief left it behind, the moon at my window." Insomnia too is a thief, but what does it leave behind? The moon at your window, the raw, unadorned self. Modern life demands closure, a tidy moral of the story, but the night's wisdom is elliptical. The poet Rilke urged us to live the questions now, trusting that answers will unfold like morning glories. Neuroscience offers a parallel. REM sleep's chaos sows seeds for daytime insight. Insomnia, in its way, does the same. The synaptic storms of 3 a.m. are not chaos, they are unfinished symphonies. How then to carry this into daylight? The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, anticipating darkness to cherish the light. But the insomniac needs no rehearsal. They've already met the void. The practice becomes post-meditatio lucis, after meditating on the night, tending the dawn. It might look like this: brewing tea while savoring the heat of the cup, or walking barefoot on dew-soaked grass. Each step a pact to stay porous, to wonder. There's a reason dawn features in rebirth myths worldwide. In Egyptian lore, Khepri the scarab rolls the sun into the sky, a daily resurrection. For you, the sun's rise is an invitation, not to erase the night, but to weave it into your tapestry. The anxieties, the epiphanies, the shadows' whispers, they become threads in the loom. As light floods the room, notice how it softens. The edges of your vigil. The clock resumes its tyranny, yes, but now you know its secret. Time is a canvas, not a cage. The Japanese poet Issa captures this in a haiku. In the dawn light, even the alarm clock's face seems kind. So today, when the world demands your mask, wear it lightly. Let a sliver of the night's truth linger in your smile. When asked, "Did you sleep well?" reply, "I met myself." The birds crescendo. The brook hums its ancient hymn. Somewhere, a lotus opens in a mud-strewn pond.